scarves. They're probably made in China.
Right.
Been across my legs the other way.
These are Excuse me, before we get started, I'm sorry, I don't know all of you. I know some of you, but if you do speak, or even if you don't speak, at some point, if you can give me your name, that would be great. Okay, thank you. Hey, Randy. That was not him. That was him.
Right.
Thank you.
Another one. Okay, we'll call the meeting in order. I would make a motion, we approve the minutes of the March 27th, 2025 meeting of the Board of Selectmen. Second that. Any discussion? All in favor? Aye. I'd like to make an amendment to the February 13th, 2025 meeting of the Board of Selectmen, the minutes. At that meeting, we awarded the bid for the Washington Volunteer Fire Department rescue truck to Gallons and Night for $589,268.27 by Jim Britton, seconded by Dean Sargent, and unanimously approved. Is there a second?
What's the change?
It wasn't in the minutes.
I was not at that meeting and I missed it in the recording.
I got you.
Apologies.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
Appointments and resignations, received letters of interest from Lucy Hunter and Sarah Griswold to join the Arts Council for an indefinite term. I would make the motion that we appoint them.
I'll second that.
All in favor? Aye. First Selectmen's report, the only thing I have today is, I received this in the mail. The nation is celebrating its 250th birthday in 2026, and they're putting together different statewide committees and community committees. So I'm gonna post this on the website and get it out on Explore Washington, and if we can get a group of interested people that might wanna plan to celebrate, that would be great. Dean, did you have anything?
No, but can't we just assign that to Michelle? Oh, never mind. I didn't see you back there.
He thought you left, you were gonna be volunteered.
No, nothing for me.
Okay, thank you.
There's somebody in.
Oh, thank you. Under new business, tax abatement agreement between the town of Washington and the Washington Community Housing Trust. With that, I'm gonna turn it over to Bill Fairburn, president of our housing trust, but I just wanted to say that the rationale behind this is we're trying to make our affordable housing, or keep our affordable housing affordable. It doesn't make sense to tax them, for the town to tax them when we're contributing to that. So,
Yeah, so the Washington Community Housing Trust has, we actually have three multifamily properties. Riverwoods, which is our senior housing, that is subject to a 30-year tax abatement that the town meeting approved many years ago. The other two properties, Dodge Farm and
Church Street. Church Street.
I guess so many things going on here. The tax housing, affordable housing is not tax exempt under the Connecticut statute. So that the statutes provide that a town can adopt an ordinance that allows the town to enter into an abatement agreement, which Randy, the town attorney, and I, worked on, and Michelle did most of the heavy lifting. And the town adopted.
Michelle worked that.
Yes, for Michelle. The town adopted that at a town meeting. So it authorizes the Board of Selectmen to enter into an agreement with nonprofits such as the Washington Community Housing Trust to abate the taxes. So we have talked, and the town has been extremely supportive under Jimmy's administration, supporting the efforts that we're making to complete what the town's affordable housing plan is requested, which is 27 additional units. So this will allow us to, as we keep our rents as low as possible, to maintain the properties in a proper fashion. So Randy and I have worked together to put together an abatement agreement, which has been, I think, the Board of Selectmen has approved. So any questions on that? If not, I brought a copy down, which Randy and I have gone through and Randy has approved. And if it passes, which I hope it will, and we appreciate your support, we'll go ahead and sign it.
Great.
Get this moving.
I would make the motion that the Board of Selectmen enter into this agreement between the town of Washington and the Washington Community Housing Trust.
I'll second that.
Any other discussion? All in favor? Aye. Opposed?
And if I just add, thank you so much for this. It means so much. We're in the process right now of we also have done 3 single-family homes on 202, which are affordable. And we're in the process of building another one with the support of the town on Baldwin Hill, which will be starting in the next month or two. And we have received a donation of 30 acres that we're in the process, again, with support of the town to pay for all the engineering costs to do a feasibility study about putting together some more housing there too. So we, on behalf of the Housing Trust, I thank you very much for all your support.
Thanks, Bill. Thanks for all your hard work.
I'll sign 2 copies of this and leave them with you. And
I'll say that the thanks comes from us. It's, what you do is unbelievable. The abatement means so little and it's just logic. Why would we?
Well, what's interesting is the state hired Eco Northwest, which is a major consulting firm out of state of Washington, to do a housing study for the whole state of Connecticut for each town. And essentially what they've come out with is they have a baseline, which is that we need 224 units, and then they have an approach A, which is 41 units, and approach B, which is 27 units, depending on how they're allocated across the state of Connecticut based on job opportunities, needs, et cetera. So, by helping us with what we're doing, we're really trying to get that, the town affordable housing plan hooked up. So thanks again.
Thanks, Billy.
Did we vote?
Does anybody want to?
Yes, and thanks, Michelle, too. I tried to.
So the next item on the agenda, the transfer station bid, I want to hold off on that, Dean. It came up this morning with the tire recycling and it's just gonna, till our next meeting, which is fine because this wouldn't take effect until July.
Yeah.
I just want to run that down, so we're gonna hold off on that.
Okay.
Scheduling nominations and election of Board of Education members.
Okay, what would like to do is schedule a candidates forum after the April 24th Board of Selectmen's meeting. So do the forum at 6 p.m. here at the town hall. And then that would give people time to obviously be nominated. They can give their feelings, their opinions, whatever. And then they would be voted into the Board of Ed after the town meeting, well, not at the town meeting on May 15th. So the forum on April 24th and the election on May 15th.
And the rationale behind that is we've done it different ways in the past. People felt that they didn't have enough time to research candidates when candidates are presented in one night and then they're expected to vote. So they wanted like a week or a 2-week period to understand more, learn more, be able to ask questions. We've done that the last couple of times and it's worked out well. We have a fairly large group for candidates for their terms expire.
Now, we're nominating at our meeting.
No,
No,
we'll have our meeting and then right after at 6, people can nominate
From the floor. I thought we
on
were,
the floor.
okay.
So it's a forum after the Board of Selectmen's meeting.
Haven't we changed the policy on this, or is this the new way we're doing it?
In terms of,
I thought we were part of where people being nominated from the floor, I thought.
no, that's the only way it can happen. What ends up happening is at that forum, a motion is made to close the nominations.
It's at the vote. That's where it was. Right. Okay, so I thought we're making suggestions, are we not? As a board?
No.
We were never
don't.
supporting a candidate because I know the DTC and the RTC come to us.
Yeah, it's not a political, in other words, there's no minority representation. They simply, an individual interested in being on the board brings someone to nominate a second. And maybe talk a little bit about their qualifications.
All right, that. Like perfect sense. For some reason, I thought we were doing it differently. We've got a hearing on the first one. What's that? Yeah.
That's the budget hearing for the
Budget,
town.
that's the budget hearing.
Okay, so, okay, very good.
All in favor?
Aye.
Visitors, so welcome, folks. Just to give a little preface to this, you folks, I know have put in a lot of work and a lot of research and a lot of time, and if I recall, this is about a right of way that certain properties had and have had, I believe, since the 1920s.
1936.
1936. And I also believe that the right of way was impacted when the town rebuilt the current beach house. So Roger, just tell us a little bit about what you folks, what your goal would be to have.
Well, the goal stays the same as what the original intent was, giving a certain group of people, not everyone that's in this neighborhood, waterfront rights. Not only just the right of way, but waterfront rights to enjoy the lake. And through some research, and I've been in town hall quite a bit, going through trying to understand it myself, because I think the first time you and I met, I don't even know like how familiar you were to this whole situation. So little by little, I started to realize where the right of way was, who filed the map, which was, you know, was actually my starting point, was a map that was filed by the town. I think it's 1751. Showed the right of way, showed the volume, showed the page. So when I researched that, I came up with the original deed that McKay had filed in, I guess it was 1936. He had bought the property somewhere around 1930 and had language in this document that gave a certain group of people through he was selling lots at that time. It's kind of like a early subdivision. So each one of these lots, when he sold them off, he had specific language for use of the waterfront right away, multiple right of ways for everyone that's here lives on Sandstrom, which has a right of way to Flirtation. But the right of way that we're concerned about is the one that goes from Warren Road to the lake. So that was in existence for quite a while until I don't know if anybody knows the history down at the beach, but there was McKay had quite a business going. He had the Cedar Restaurant, he had Patty's gift store. He rented out the cottages, many of the cottages that we all live in. He would rent them out for the lake. So, you know, it was a lake community is what it is. And through the years now, people have bought in, people are starting to renovate them. And, you know, it's a great situation because they're all small houses on small lots. So my wife and I, Robin, had met you that one time, and we had asked if we could leave our boat down there. And I understood what you were saying that day, but I didn't realize what I know now. And what I know now is that not only do we have a right of way that's obviously impacted, but we have waterfront rights, which are like any other property on the lake. The only difference is our right of way goes to the lake, and the riparian area, which is down by the old stone dock, is where the right of way goes to. So and in the past, I mean, that's why part of this it's important for you to understand the history, because prior to the town taking over this piece of land, there were multiple buildings on it. One was for storage of boats. So that was a business. I don't know if everyone that was in the neighborhood that had this right of way had a use to, or had the ability to store their boat in this building. But I'm sure they did. And I have some pictures that I'd like to share with you because they're kind of telling when you look at this stuff and, you go back quite a few years.
You wanna use that easel, Roger? Does that help, or you wanna lay them on the
I mean,
table?
these pictures are kind of tough to see, but these buildings here, were all knocked down when the town decided to have this, clean up the area, do the beautification project.
When this is from, Roger? Date, give a date on this?
I don't.
Okay.
I imagine it, this was given to me by the grandson of McKay, who was the original landowner. So one of the buildings was the restaurant, which is this one here. And this building, was a fairly large building, was used in the bottom half for storage of boats. I don't know what the top half was used for, but you can see that, that people enjoyed what is now the parking area. People enjoyed this area, which was, for picnics and, barbecuing, and you can see it here where, they actually had a dock and a boat, and, it was a different scene. But anyhow, what transpired was,
This is not here, by the way. This is it. That looks like, that fence looks like the boulders to me. That's not here.
well, the person that gave it to me was Kevin Ogden. And he told me,
That riprap, I'm telling you, I've lived on the lake when
Yep.
this was this, and that was not there.
Okay.
Sorry to break it to you, but
well, that's okay, because it doesn't really matter. My representation, or what was represented to me was that it was. But the point of all this is that, and that's a whole nother history, is how the state and the town worked to get this ramp approved here, which basically was, they came in, obviously got whatever necessary approvals were to do this, but literally filled in the lake, took away the riparian area to create this parking lot over here. And then as this project progressed, and this is probably not relevant right now, but there were a lot of mistakes made by the way permitting was done. The pump house, which obviously was something that needed to be done quickly because of the benefit that it had to the lake, was actually issued a building permit before they actually had a wetlands permit. So, or a variance as far as that's concerned. So, not to get into all this, because your question, Jim, to start with was, what do we want? And I don't think we're asking for anything more than what we've been entitled to for 20 years. And I don't know why it's been so, and I know this for a fact, because I know a lot of people have tried to get this clarification, because people would put their boat down there and they've been told that you can't do it, or in our case, we put a boat down there and it disappeared. I don't know where that went. And the guy that gave me his photographs, same situation happened. He put a boat down there and he was told you can't have it there. So what we're looking for is, without trying to make this more difficult, is to allow us to store boats someplace, preferably, on a rack close to the present boathouse or beach house, and some either an extension of the existing dock so that we could tie, and we're talking about not a lot of people. There's identified 10 property owners that have this deeded right. Out of the 10, I believe there's 6 of us that would like to be able to store a boat down there. And then, the rest of it goes on.
So,
If I could just add one thing.
sure,
I've done some research as well. I wasn't prepared to speak tonight, but I just wanted to say that it's a misnomer to say it's a right of way. It's actually an easement. Because it's not just ingress and egress into the lake. It's actually being able to bring boats in there. Our deed actually says that.
Your deed says you can bring boats?
Absolutely, it does.
And if you
Boating,
can-
bathing,
No, no, no,
swimming.
no. The deed, the
Boating.
grant is a bifurcated grant. There's two grants here. This is the original, this is the root, if you will, 1936, and there's 2 entitlements. There's one that says, and it's an exception. In other words, Mr. McKay accepted this, so then he could convey it when he conveyed
Right.
all these lots out.
Right.
And what goes with these lots is the right to use the waterfront of the above described tract, that's the tract that borders the property of the lake. For bathing, boating, and such other purposes may be necessary or incidental to the enjoyment of the Lake Warmwood by the grantor or the assigns.
Right,
That's one.
right,
The second one is a right to pass and repass.
Right.
It's only right away. The
right.
second one says to pass and repass over the tract, not the waterfront, over the
Right.
tract. And that's it. The Supreme Court tells us that a right to pass and repass does not carry with it any other greater right than that scope.
But you block that right
So
of
the,
way.
well, I didn't do anything, but,
Block the right of way.
but
to
the
do
right,
that.
the right of way is to pass and repass, not to store. I don't know what the town's done, but not to store boats. You cannot store boats on a
No,
limited.
no, we're not saying that. That's what we are asking for.
Oh, you're
Since
asking
The
the
right of
town-
way is blocked.
Oh, I see.
Correct.
Because
Not
what
like-
happens is,
Physically blocked, I'm sorry, I want
The
to.
pump house, the
Yeah.
right of way goes from the road to the water and there's a pump
It's
house in the way. So
physically
physically,
impossible.
how are we going to trailer a kayak or anything like that if there's a pump house?
Is there a map of, because. In other words, this building then was not in the right of way, and since then it's now in the right of way, because this
Correct,
building,
correct.
that ramp, I mean, the pump house. What's different now? Looks like where the ramp is today to me, and this is all town property that had a right of way through it. If we're physically blocking the right of way, that's something perhaps but I need to see that on a map. I don't see.
well,
where we're-
there is.
I mean, you could still
If you,
walk down the ramp. What's different? I believe you. I just
The right
want to
of way does
understand.
not
well,
have the ramp.
Gene, if you take a look at this, this is not.
And is this germane, by the way? The physicality of this germane, I mean.
Yeah, the
I
physicality.
wanna hear your argument for sure, and I wanna understand it, but I also have to defer to Rita, what's germane and what's not.
Yeah.
And,
It is. The law
Okay.
tells us that if there's a right to pass and repass, that's called the servient, the burdened estate, in Old English. And the holder of the right of way, or easement, if you will, and you're right, the
Yes, it
technical
is.
word is, but it's a right of,
It's
it's
a
for
right.
purposes of passage and repassage.
Correct.
That's what it's called.
Right.
And that is what limits its use, to pass and repass.
But the other language makes it more.
The other language is waterfront. That's not to pass to it.
Okay,
You see?
How you get-
okay,
There's
but
two-
they're still
there's-
connected.
There's 2 grants, but there's
Yes.
2 grants in here.
Okay,
That means the grantor or the reserve person, the
Right.
person who reserved it, meant it to be 2 separate grants.
okay.
They both have a constellation of rights, if you will. When you're the servient estate, that is and Bill is an expert in real property, he can verify this, when there's a servient estate and there's a right of way. That servient estate cannot block the right of way, pass and repass. They can't do that. That would be an interference. By the same token, the person who holds the easement the one who has a right to pass and repass, cannot surcharge or overburden the easement. And that's determined by the language of the grant.
Okay.
Yeah,
So-
and that is what it is.
So
So,
the fact is that the grant, I'm sorry, I just want to finish that
Okay,
that
go
thought. So you have two grants here. You have
Mhm.
one to quiet enjoy, or to a non-exclusive enjoyment of the waterfront. But you have another one, which is intended to be separate, because they wouldn't have done it separate if they didn't intend it to be, that is limited over that second track to the right to pass and repass. So the question is.
there's a purpose though.
Okay, I understand, but
Okay.
you needed to get to the waterfront to enjoy it. That's why that easement was granted. So what you're asking is you're asking the town to expand, if you will, to allow
Not
storage.
necessarily, no.
To correct
Because-
the interference.
You can't increase the burden on the survey of the state.
Right, right.
If the easement is to pass and repass, you cannot increase the burden on the
Right,
survey
and
of the
that's what,
state.
and that's what the
And that's-
Supreme Court tells us.
So if we.
That's the law in the state of Connecticut.
If
Right.
we restore that to the original location of the right of way, however it happens, if it's moving the pump house or whatever it is, it doesn't change the fact, if I understand correctly, that you can't store anything there. You can simply come and go.
Unless the town gives a new right, separate from this. Because I can't make a ruling that this right to pass and repass includes the right to storage, because I'd be overruling the appellate court.
No,
Well, let me just throw this out, because this is an important factor, is the right of way leads to the lake, the riparian area, which the town doesn't own. That is,
The waters of the state.
correct. And that area there, once you're at that point, it's public land. Everyone can use it,
And you have a specific right to enjoy
right,
under these, understood.
right.
That's why you have two grants.
Well, when you say two grants, I'm not totally following that, but doesn't matter. There's so many things that went afoul here, the way this all was done. We are here because we're trying to find a solution to what this particular problem is and clarify once and for all, because this has gone on for like 20 years. I mean, it's ridiculous. Really, I mean, because we're not the first group of people that have tried to get this resolved. This has been, multiple people have tried to do this.
And that's our backyard.
No, I understand it, but I think again, what we're left with is if we have to restore the physical right of way, it's not gonna change the fact that the town cannot allow boat storage, docks, or anything else down there.
Well, and I don't want to bring this up, but someone besides any of us has a boat rack down there now with kayaks and canoes on it.
Shouldn't they? I don't know who it is, Roger.
Jen Bodie.
Oh, for camp?
No, it's not.
For her personal
For
use,
Parks and Rec?
apparently, what we've heard.
Well, I'll verify.
Okay.
I'll find out,
But
but
again, it doesn't matter, but I think in light of everything that's gone on with this property and the fact that the waterfront that was actually enjoyed by our neighborhood was bulldozed under and paved over. And there was no consideration for our rights when that was done. And I've looked through the minutes of the meeting of wetland meetings where there were different public people spoke and said that they wanted the hearing to be continued because there were unanswered questions. And it must have been a time where, everyone was pushing to get this state ramp in, which I'm, no sense in me wondering why.
sure.
That's great. Have you had any discussions with the state? You were deep?
No, I did try to get a hold of Deep a little bit, but
No.
it seemed like it was not necessary to really talk to them, and it wasn't really necessary for me or our association to understand something that happened 20 years ago.
Because you're right, the waters, and it's been declared for years, any water in this state, matter of fact, water under your property are considered waters of the state. So now we have a lake. That's the largest natural lake in the state, in fact, by the way, and you have the riparian, right, that's all controlled by the state, by deep. And if it was navigable, it would be the Army Corps of Engineers, which you don't want to get involved with, believe me. To do that in Milford. I want to shoot the deep end.
Well, they were a big part of this. I was a big part of this too,
Oh, you were.
in all fairness. And I thought we did everything right. It's the first time hearing that we did a lot of things wrong. It was highly contentious. But it was driven by deep, and it was a home run for the lake. Because we were gonna have open access to the lake, completely uncontrolled. That's what they wanted. That's what
In what way?
no inspection of boats, no limit on boats, no anything. This was an agreement that we made and the community supported it wholeheartedly. To give us some control of boats coming in and out, the amount of boats, all of these things. It was a pretty good solution from what would have been an absolute nightmare at the state park and perhaps even on this property too. They were insisting it. So, environmentally, it was an absolute home run. You all should be, you're not thankful that it happened right there, that this area that got used a lot, not just by the folks who had this easement, by the way, everybody came over here and barbecued, and it wasn't specifically for that.
Right.
These people probably, I mean, we don't know if they lived here, they could have lived anywhere.
Yeah.
So that's what it was used for, it was a barbecue and, but it did a lot for the lake, so, I'm gonna defend the project a little bit. If it stepped on some toes and did some things wrong, then shame on us, but I didn't remember that at the time. I don't know if you were here when it was being done. We had meeting after meeting after meeting. The town hall was as full as it's ever
No,
been.
I've read all the documentation and I've
So,
kind of,
it wasn't done,
it wasn't done intentionally.
intentionally for sure, but it wasn't done without a great deal of thought and environmental care. And, it's the environmental protections that are far improved over this here, far improved, from sediment drains to and the pump and things like that have been.
There's many ways it could have been handled, but that's not the purpose
Okay.
of this meeting.
So to get back a little bit more, I think there's two issues. And I think
There's a
we,
DEP issue, which
True.
Randy mentioned, which is the water, and
True.
then there's the right of way.
the right of way, if we, and where is it that that's specified? I had a right of way on my house that I could never find, because I couldn't find the marking.
It's on the map.
Yeah,
Your lawyer just read it.
It's on the map.
well, is on the exact.
Yeah, let me show it to you.
I'm not on your side, by the way. Don't, well,
Okay.
I'm really not. I'm on the side of doing the right thing. So, I want to get it right, and so does Jim. So, let's try to not make it contentious.
If I could just add,
For a lot.
no, if Mr.
Make sure.
McKay,
It
if
was a
Mr.
home run.
McKay had allowed boats to be stored there,
Then you'd be a lot, right?
that's great, but Mr. McKay never put it in writing. And so that is now extinguished. In other words, there could have been a lengthy period of time where Mr. McKay had a building and said, be happy to put your boats and stuff,
Right,
but
to enjoy the lake.
the
I'm
problem
saying
you've got from a
exactly
legal
where.
standpoint,
Oh, it's not
and
a
again, I have
So
no
that's
skin
what I
in the
mean.
game.
That's what
Yeah, I'm gonna show you.
Because
All you have is a right to
This,
pass and.
to me, this footprint has changed very little on this
Hold on,
side.
folks, let's settle down. We're not gonna have an
Help me
open
out here.
conversation. If somebody wants to speak, please raise your hand so we can all.
Let's see, George.
It says bullet.
That's it,
How do they
yes.
think you're gonna get the bullet in there?
So this is what led me to a lot of the information that I've uncovered. Keep in mind that this building and this building were knocked down. The right of way went to the east side of, I guess, what was at the time, the restaurant, the Cedar Restaurant.
Okay.
And
So
now,
that-
here's another point, is that the town, after this is a very tight area, it's 1 acre and most of it is over here. They got a variance approval. And no one ever did a location survey showing where these buildings are now.
What, Randy?
That's one of the concerns I had when the map you sent me,
Mhm.
it was in a vacuum. In other words, not your fault, but that's what it showed a line. It didn't have a course and distance on it.
Right.
So I don't know what that meant.
Well, I don't know how Michael at
Alex.
Alex, yeah.
and I've tried to contact him. I guess he's either not, and he's on
You're not-
business.
I've tried to contact him.
You're not alone.
This wall is still here, is it not?
It is,
Okay, so that's our reference point.
right.
So, and in fact, this concrete dock's still there, is it not, right?
It
So
is.
That's our reference point. That's gonna help us to see if, you know.
Perhaps we can meet over there and go over the lines and
Yeah,
maybe you guys can help us out because,
see,
you know, we're little people. We have these little houses that we move because we want them, we have 1,000,000 houses that can do whatever they want in the lane and they are allowed. We have little houses that we just want to walk to the lake and bring everyone we can, but we have the right of way. So if you can help us, WJ, the town did a great job with what he say about cleaning. I love that because, you know, we all do it. We all working to make that lake better.
No, I
At
understand,
the same
George.
time, you know, the little people get behind all the time. So it's nice because we lose value in our home when we lose our right of way.
I understand. Again, I haven't heard anything that tells me that we can grant you the ability to bring boats and dock boats and put chairs and things like that and docks. The right of way, my understanding of it is ingress and egress.
Well-
Pass and repass. That's
well,
what it says.
let me just, let me.
If we physically,
How would you,
if-
how do you explain that?
I don't. It says it's what's in the
I
deed.
can explain
Okay,
it.
then how do you do that?
There are two grants here. There are two of
Yeah,
them.
right, I got
It's
that.
a reservation. You reserve the right to himself, so you can have, his grantees can have, the right to enjoy the lake. The waterfront, it says. Then he says, and there's another easement that's granted to pass and repass over said tract. The courts tell us that when it says pass and repass, that's it.
No.
is,
What
Yeah,
about-
yeah,
what
that's
about-
exactly what the
No,
court
no,
said.
no, but
is
that's
that
not.
second?
Hold on, one at a time. Robin, do you want to speak?
I'm telling you what the
It
law
says
is.
voting, it says the voting on the deed.
But it doesn't say
Okay,
boating,
I
It
don't
do-
see the need for that. You're explaining something to
it
me.
doesn't say boating storage on the easement to pass and repass.
It would have
It
to,
does, it says it on
No,
ours.
no, it's.
It does,
but
it doesn't
doesn't
say,
On
it
the
doesn't
McKay
say,
reservation, which yours emanates from. Yours is a remote grant from McKay. McKay reserved it and then he sold it. When he sold them with these rights. The right says, the right to use the waterfront of the above described tract for bathing, boating. and
There you
some
go.
other-
How
But
do you vote?
I don't know.
How do you vote then?
If
How do
you
you
don't have
vote
a
if you
vote
only have a
there.
right to pass?
if you can't
But
get
then
your
it said-
vote there,
It doesn't say together with the right to carry the boat or to store the boat thereon.
logic will tell you that,
Well, the Supreme Court disagrees.
well,
Okay, well,
actually,
if I
actually, I had,
vote at the road and I'm gonna use the right of way
Yeah.
that I have on my deed, we can't because it's blocked.
Well, that's a
That's a
different
different
story.
story.
That's
Okay,
a,
so we would like a remedy to that, and
That
that's
would
what
be-
we were
that-
saying, why can't we keep
well,
kayaks
now you're
there?
cooking because that's the remedy that you're entitled to.
we can do that.
You're entitled to have that.
But you can't put a dock or a boat there. That's all I'm saying. I'm happy to do that.
It's a
Here-
remedy.
here's a court case.
I don't
We're
understand.
restoring the
Okay.
right of way.
This app
You're gonna
actually
move
is.
the Pump house?
We'll do whatever we have to do to restore the
What do I
right
care?
of way.
I'm your
Or it's not gonna
state.
change the fact that
If we had to move,
Take a look
we had to
at
move
it.
the right of way, if we've done something, you know, we
Yeah.
find something
to restore
agreeable.
the same,
Well, we
the size,
can't agree to that.
I'm sorry,
yeah,
what's the
the same
name?
size access.
What's
way.
that?
No, I would not agree to that.
To what? Same size
It's
access.
still,
Okay.
it's still a riparian area, and it's still, you know,
You suggest.
Talks
Okay,
about-
folks, hold on. Roger, do you want to give one of your neighbors?
And
an
I'm sorry,
opportunity?
sir, your name?
Kevin Curran, C-U-R-R-A-N.
Thank you.
Go ahead,
My wife
okay.
is the
I
property.
hear you.
Kevin, go
I
ahead.
hear you.
So my question was, you said we could work for a remedy, what, I didn't hear clearly what kind of.
The remedy would be to remove the obstruction of the right of way,
And that
of
would be
the
a costly
easement, you're right,
remedy?
the proper language is easement.
I
So,
understand, so that would be a very costly remedy, right, to the town?
I don't know what it was, that's not
Significant,
my
right?
job.
Is there flexibility to consider a remedy that would be less costly to the town and satisfactory to the?
You mean like a separate right of way, Kevin, in another area?
No,
Yeah, I understand.
Okay.
Well, you're saying no, he's saying yes.
That's
I'm
evident from the law.
asking,
Right.
is there
This is-
interest
this is
in
easy.
coming, striking a
This was
remedy that would be
drafted
satisfying to
a
both
certain
parties?
way.
You
Now, I gotta
avoiding
call it
clearing,
and say,
clearing the right of way
Springfield
with the pump house.
If I can,
What it
just,
says.
I think I could help maybe a little bit.
But thank you.
I think the confusion is between the right of way and then what that means in terms of usage. I will tell you that owning a piece of property waterfront doesn't give you the right to put in a dock and have a boat there automatically. It doesn't. There's still even, and your deed for sure can't give you the right to keep a boat on Lake Ormond. It can't. If you have 50 feet, if you have 45 feet, you can't put a dock or a boat. It's not allowed for any property
Well,
owner,
there-
even if you own the land.
That's
It doesn't, so,
that's not entirely true,
well,
okay?
there are
Because-
restrictions, is what I'm getting
because
at.
here-
It doesn't, your deed.
Here's a situation that you gotta look at.
Go ahead.
This is actually the property line of the town property. Anything that's on the lakeside is states, not the towns. So,
Yeah.
maybe to your point, maybe we have to ask the state permission to allow this. But, we're all trying to find, as Kevin has pointed out, a simpler solution here. We're not gonna like,
I think you're trying to find a solution that I'm guessing is not gonna be available to you. I'm
That's why
guessing,
it's
I don't know, but
not
I think you're stuck in this idea that you're gonna be able to have your boats there for sure. And I don't think that that's gonna be the outcome. And-
well, I'm gonna ask you a
and I
question.
can tell you that that's the legal opinion is not in agreement with that. So,
Who do
yeah, we
you
want-
think owns this dock? The dock that comes out, this one here, who do you think owns that? You think the town owns that?
I would assume so, but I obviously.
They do
have to
not.
Find out that I'm wrong. Okay,
They do not.
please tell me who owns it.
It's state owned. It's not.
Okay, so here's what we're gonna do.
No,
We're gonna involve the DEP. And they have to be, the water is theirs. The town will research, and again, you had said, is there something we can do short of restoring the original right of way? Tell me what it is you would like the town to do if we don't restore the original right of way.
I can't speak for the group, but I was raising the question is what the town would prefer, it seems to me, prefer not to move the farmhouse. So is there a way between these parties to say, this is a reasonable solution that you're satisfied with and we're satisfied with? So that's, I don't have that, I can't make that
Okay.
case right now.
So my guess would be we probably can't come to an agreement because my sense is an agreement would not include, would have to include the ability to dock a boat or store boats
No,
or store boats.
There are kayaks down there now. I think the easiest solution would be to put a kayak rack for our neighborhood only, in addition to what you have there now. You already have kayaks there. You are not using that property in any different way by allowing a few of us to have
Well, it is,
kayaks
because that's
down there.
town use.
Because, so that we can use that part of the lake.
Yeah.
Our rights should not be the same as everyone else's, because our rights to the lake are
I
different.
feel we're adhering to the law.
No, okay.
Okay, so we can agree to disagree on that.
Sure.
I will contact Deep. We will look into getting the shed moved. And that right of way dimensions restored, but it will not change the fact that you cannot store or have a dock down
Well,
there.
that's fine.
Jim.
We could trailer a boat
Right.
right through there.
why is it that,
If I can just add, having been the town attorney for 8 years ago, is the other issue that all of you've got to face is that if this right of way has been blocked for more than 15 years and you haven't used it, then you have adverse possession.
no?
No, we've been all trying to use it.
Have you used it?
That's not
But
true.
the town could assert adverse.
block
No.
It's absurd.
access to that area, and that is
Well,
not.
if there's an actual designated area where the easement is, then if it's blocked, I mean, that's an issue
I'm
that.
never gonna recommend a town do adverse protection.
No, I know, but
Because it's a taking, but I mean, but you're right.
Property owners.
You're right.
Be
But it's a taking.
perfectly clear about that.
If you folks could, Roger, if your group could put in an email or a simple Word document, tell me what you would like as an alternative, and I can say we can or cannot do that.
And I have one question
Sure.
to add. Where the impediment to the right of way with the pump house
Mhm.
doesn't allow us 24-hour, 365 access to the lake, which it seems to me that we have for deed.
Right,
So that's gotta play somehow in what would satisfy us, is that we have 24-hour access, 365.
Again,
Correct.
if you folks put everything in writing as
Okay.
to what you'd like, and we can take a look at it for you.
Okay.
And in the interim, I'll contact DEP. I think we have to have them in. on
We
this.
have to take a shot to a survey too.
Yeah.
At least a location survey.
Yeah, there should be location surveys that show where this
Right,
actually
right.
is.
I will see if I can reach Mike.
I know.
I'll do my best to reach him.
So you know, just, I don't think what we're asking is unreasonable, given the fact that other people are already doing it. I don't know.
I think that is the town use, and we'll find out about that for sure. And would 24/7, I could see an issue there, would have to perhaps be a lock and key. Would that be acceptable?
Well, maybe.
I think that's
maybe-
all premature.
It is, it's
Just
probably
submit.
very premature. I mean, it's
Let's
one-
just submit.
Okay.
Yeah,
And then we'll
I think
make
we gotta be a
decisions.
little more positive about this thing.
And
And we asking for a simple solution. We wanna agree with the town and the town agree with us. But in the same talking, you were talking about that nobody's fighting for this. We bought a property almost 40 years and we've been fighting. She did the same thing he did.
Yeah,
He went to the town and they were very rude to her and we got all the neighbors and it's always somebody that they say that, oh, no, you can do this, oh, you can do that, and that's rude. You know, you're listening to us and we appreciate that, but you understand talking, you know, think about it, where we're coming from.
Right, and
Appreciate
George, you're
that.
right. There's a polite way to say, no, nobody should be disrespected or.
We
want
can be
that,
positive, we just want you
Sure,
guys to give us a solution, we gonna tell you what we want, and then we go, that's where we go.
yeah, let's know definitively what you folks would like to see as a solution, and let me get in touch with
really what I was
DEP.
getting at a little bit, I know we're jumping the gun, but one of the important things, and I think you'll agree with me on this. You've said it's only gonna be a few of us. It has to be everybody. If we assume that if it's 8 properties that have the deed, we have to. It's
yes.
the properties, not the people.
Correct.
So, you know, that doesn't matter, but everybody's gotta be on the same page. Because that would be the right of way that we would agree to, would be for all those properties that have a deed.
Yeah.
Yes.
Or the easement.
Yeah.
Okay.
And these, by the way, are, you know, all the different property owners, which I've gone through every single deed. They all have the same right of way.
They're all emanate from the K.
Yes, they do. And I've overlaid the original map that was, you know, the original map that McKay actually, bought the land from, which was this one. I don't know if you've seen this.
I think I sent that.
So this was the original, this was 1929. This was the transfer was I don't know, if this was prior to
That
this
was stopped then, right?
stuff, yeah.
Yeah.
And then what I did was I overlaid the tax assessment map onto this. Because obviously there were 1 or 2 lots on there, and determine both graphically and by the deeds, identified who has this particular right of way.
Mhm.
So I mean,
A lot of good work.
Yeah.
yeah, I was thinking about taking up a new profession.
We need a
I could never find mine.
No,
We couldn't find it in town and, yeah.
it was kind of fun, but the fun is over now, and I, in all sincerity,
The fund will be the solution.
everybody, you know, not everybody here, but for the last 20 years, people have been denied the right to use the lake the way it was deeded to them. So I don't really think the town wants, like, the lawsuit of the fact that we've been, that privilege has been taken away from us for 20 years. It's kind of crazy, and
We don't
it,
want a lawsuit on this matter because.
I wouldn't wanna go,
Nasty.
no, it's ugly, I've been there, it's no good. But the fact that Hillary, 20 years ago, the then selectmen wrote and said, you know, questioned what was going on and never got a response.
but they acknowledged the right of way and said that they would do. what
Yes.
they accept.
There's no doubt about the right of way. The right of way has been acknowledged both through.
okay, but.
Yeah, so let's, again, we're gonna,
Good work.
let's go with,
You can
put together something for a proposal for an agreement. I will get in touch with DEP and we'll go from there. The town will look at it and see
Okay.
where we're gonna go.
We appreciate you there.
Yes.
Thank you, folks.
Thank you for your time.
Appreciate it.
Yeah, have you had, you didn't, you don't have any, you never contact anybody at DEP then?
I've never talked to specifically on.
I've got,
Thousand rounds.
yeah,
Probably.
Yeah.
an attorney with DEP.
Yeah, and, some other stuff to talk to them about.
Great.
I'll see what I
Got
can.
a contact.
Anyone
Yeah.
online, anything?
This is the email that Hillary, and you can see the date, how long this has been going on,
2006.
long time.
Nice work.
Yeah, she did say she researched everything, she was mad at me because I said, no, the town is nice. No, we got the right away. We gotta go walk over there with the kids and the dog. You know, and
We
I
were
said,
told it,
This
we
is-
can't even walk our dog, we can't even walk our dog.
Mandy, can I see
Read
that?
through the inland wetlands.
Because I'm curious what
Roger, we're
selectmen.
gonna-
It was
Let's get things wrapped up. Is there anything else, folks?
we're good.
All good, thank
I've
you.
been very good to us.
We appreciate it.
Yeah.
Make a motion to adjourn.
I'll second.
You know.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you, folks.